All right, we thank everybody for coming and joining us for our community meeting, July 6th at 5:30. We're starting a little bit late because we had a few technical difficulties. This is actually our first time hosting a Zoom meeting as a public meeting for CDBG. I'm going to go over our agenda and what we have planned for you, and then we'll go through those agenda items one by one. My name is Melvin Leach. I'm the Director of Community Development for the City of East Cleveland. And with me in my office is Karen Hood. She doesn't like to be on camera, so she's off site, but she keeps me in track and makes sure that I know what I'm talking about when we talk. We're gonna do a few things tonight and making sure that we condensed it all into one public meeting. So the things that we're gonna go over is an amendment to our fiscal year 2019 action plan. And the reason for doing that is that the city of East Cleveland received $657,000 in COVID-19 funds. So in order for us to use those funds, which Rick and Marcy know well because we've been on a lot of meetings, we could have used it for 2020, but HUD had guidance and they told us that it's better that we amend our 2019 action plan, which would make it faster and easier for us to get the money out and spend. The second thing that we'll go over is we have to, in using and changing the 2019 action plan, we had to amend our 2019 citizen participation plan. So we'll go over those steps and what we needed to do. Then the two other big things that we're going to take care of tonight is we're going to go over our 2020 through 2024 consolidated plan. That will be done by Placemark, and they'll go over our consolidated plan. And lastly, we'll wrap it up with our 2020 action plan. And we can't do the 2020 action plan without first doing the consolidated plan. Then we'll have questions and remarks at the end, and that is our agenda for today. Is there any questions before we get started? Anything somebody wants to make sure that we go over or know about before we get started? All right, so we'll start off with the amendment to the fiscal year 2019 action plan. So as HUD gave us guidance, and I'm gonna give everybody the exact amount of the money that was given to us. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, which is Public Law 116-136, made available to the City of East Cleveland $657,684 in supplemental community development block grants. So what we have to do is we have to spend that money on things that are COVID-19 related. We put together a tentative budget that had to go into our consolidated plan. And we focused on a few areas. We just didn't do those areas based on what we thought, but of things of need for the city of East Cleveland. So food assistance was one of the items that we feel that we're gonna put money towards. And that's about $80,000. Housing assistance, $300,000. Economic development, $50,000. And facilities upgrade, $225,000. So right now, and I would let the mayor speak if he wanted to, but the city has already been doing food assistance for the residents of East Cleveland. They've been going out, passing out food, and he can give the exact amount of food that they've been doing, but that's something that we have been doing. If you go to the county and they have a site, which is 211, which they record all the phone calls that they receive and letting everybody know the type of assistance that has been requested. So, and it's of all the suburbs. And just to give you an indication of those calls from East Cleveland have been 1,826 calls. and that is from January through May of this year. Leading the list is Euclid with 2,827 phone calls. And those phone calls are anywhere from food pantries. That was over 3,000 phone calls for food pantries. Tax preparation assistance, over 2,000 phone calls. Gas service payments assistance, 924. And rent payment assistance, which is 886 phone calls. The next one is close to 800, which is electric service payment assistance. So it's showing that during that time, which encompasses COVID-19, there's been a lot of phone calls for two of the things that we are put on our list, which is food assistance and housing assistance. The county put out an RFP, which for rental assistance, and the person who won not the person, but the company who was awarded the RFP through the county is Cleveland Housing Network. So all of the other communities, not all of them, but a great majority of them are going to join in with the county in allowing the Cleveland Housing Network to administer those funds. We will put approximately 300,000 towards that because, as you can see from the list that we gave you, there's a great demand for rental assistance, which would be about 3 months towards that. The other funds I said is economic development. I've asked the county to put together another RFP for some businesses to receive some economic development assistance to help businesses that are in need as well. Facility upgrade. We plan on using some of the funds to upgrade the Civic Center. The mayor and administration staff were very instrumental in being one of the first communities to provide COVID testing for the residents of East Cleveland, which was free of charge. And we spearheaded that by being one of the first. But the Civic is in need of some upgrades to make sure that is adequate, to make sure that people are tested properly. So some of those funds would go towards that. We are working with our partner OHM to put together a bid sheet for those facilities upgrades to make sure that the testing is done properly. I'll ask, is there any questions or any concerns that are raised with that? And if the mayor would like to speak to the COVID testing and food assistance. All right.
Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Mayor, you got that's you speaking, Mayor, you got a little kickback.
Can you hear, do I have a kickback now?
Nope, you sound good.
Okay. How's everybody doing? I'm here with my executive assistant, Belinda Kyle. So just real briefly on the use of the MLK Center. So as many of you know, I have been doing the food pantry for over 10 years, and because of the COVID, we made a pivot to do a food pantry as a box and then a delivery style, whereas before it was set up and the residents would just come and pick up the food. So we actually started earlier this year and have actually done more food. Yeah, we're over 100,000 pounds in food delivery at this point, and tentatively our next pantry is set for next Tuesday, not tomorrow, but the following Tuesday. While I have the opportunity, and I see that Ann Kahn from McGregor is still on the phone, I'd like to thank Ann Kahn and McGregor and the McGregor Foundation for their donations to our food pantry. Every food pantry we feed anywhere with personal boxes of food, anywhere between 400 and 600 households. And this is going door to door. So if you can imagine what the setup looks like, the food is dropped off literally outside of the MLK. Because of COVID, they can't drop it off inside. In the back, we have to then take it and take it into the facility. Once we get it in the facility, we have to bring in city workers and volunteers, and then for those of you who have done food pantries, it comes a box of apples, a box of carrots, a box of this. So then you have to take box, and put it into one box to then deliver. So it is quite a daunting task. And I have to thank the rest of our food pantry providers. Chief of Staff just walked in, who have assisted us in one way, shape, or form with this delivery. That would be WRAA,
Hunger Network,
the Hunger Network,
Sanson International,
Gordon Foods, Swage Lock,
Cleveland Food Bank,
and
obviously McGregor.
Kelly Chapman Ministries, and I already thanked Ed Count over the McGregor. Thank you again. So this thing is growing now beyond what we...
Our new partner, Noah, is going to be helping us manage it.
Beyond what we actually envisioned. And a local name you'll all recognize, Noah, will be helping us facilitate the distribution of these foods moving forward. The second thing we were able to do, and to our knowledge, we were the first municipality to administer testing for COVID-19 for the general population, and we did that through our partner, Genesis Reference Laboratories, or out of Columbus, Ohio. So I'd like to thank them for their partnership and getting that done. Again, for those of you who haven't heard me say it before, that partnership is a direct relation from Governor DeWine and our partners and buddies over at Jobs Ohio. So we're using the MLK to do those, and per the requirements or the allotment usage of the funds, we can make upgrades to the facility as it relates to mitigating, combating, or preventing COVID-19 or the spread thereof. So I think that covers what we're doing at the MLK and why these funds are important and needed over there to get that center back open. Any questions or concerns? If not, that will conclude my report. Thank you, Mr. Director.
All right, thank you. So in order for us to use those funds, we had to make sure we amended the 2019 action plan. So that's what we're doing now. We also had to amend our citizen participation plan. And just to make sure everybody knows, all of these documents that we're talking about are online and they're posted under community development. So any of the documents that we talk about today are online for each of you to review and make comment on. So for us, we have to have a public meeting. So what we had to do was put in an amendment. HUD allowed us to, instead of having an in-person meeting, we were able to have this meeting via Zoom or a different route. So what we wrote is in-person public hearings are not required due to social distancing and limiting public gatherings for public health reasons and will not be held. But we still had to have a meeting. So this is our meeting to make sure that everybody is informed and let everybody know what we're doing with our public meetings and our funds. So that is part of our citizen participation. So if you want to go in there, you can look at it. We posted this in the Plain Dealer and it ran June 17th. One other important thing to note is for the fiscal year 19 citizen participation plan and the one-year action plan is that instead of us having the normal 30-day comment period that comment period has been reduced to 5 days. So everybody will have those amount of days to respond to what we have provided and put before you. If there's no questions for me immediately right after this, and we will have questions at the end, I'm going to turn it over to Placemark, who is doing our consolidated plan. And if they have anything they want to add to what I said about our 2019 Consolidated Plan Action Plan, please feel free to do so.
Thank you, Director Leach, and everyone else who's online. I'm Rick Sika.
And I'm Marcia Moe.
And we are Placemark Collaborative, the consulting firm that the city of East Cleveland retained to assist them in the preparation of their 5-year consolidated plan and the 2020 annual plan. Director Leach, you did a great job on describing the amendment in the CP plan, Citizen Participation Plan update. So I think that's all set. We have a few brief remarks just to make sure everybody who's involved in the call today knows what the 5-year plan is, how it fits into the 1-year plan and the performance report that goes in. And then we'd like to briefly talk about the goals that the city has as part of its 5-year plan, which will then dovetail into talking about the specific projects and activities that the city will do this year. So the consolidated plan, as HUD envisioned it, was a collaborative process for a community to have a unified vision for all of its community development actions. It's a way to take housing and community development programs and merge them into coordinated strategies. And it also allows the city to talk with other partners and to think about things broadly. The 5-year plan describes the characteristics of the general population, housing stock, and housing market, along with the needs of low and moderate income residents, persons with special needs, and that's a specific list to HUD. So that involves groups, for example, like the elderly, frail elderly, persons with physical disabilities, persons with mental disabilities, persons with substance abuse issues, survivors of domestic violence, stalking and human trafficking, and persons with HIV/AIDS, as well as homeless individuals and families. There's a wide range of data, tables, and maps in the document that's online, and we'd encourage everyone to look at that information. The strategic plan portion of the 5-year document outlines the goals, strategies, partners, and anticipated financial resources that will be available to the city over the next 5 years. That fits into the annual action plan, which sets forth how specifically the city would implement its 2020 community development block grant funds and home program funds, and documents how these activities fit into the 5-year plan. At the conclusion of each year, the city submits the consolidated annual performance and evaluation report to HUD, which documents the results of the action plan. The city of East Cleveland, in terms of goals for the 5-year program, identified 4 goals. And these are based on review with city staff and the community and our work. They are the same 4 general areas from the last 5-year plan, because the overall large topics really remain consistent. Improve, maintain, and expand affordable housing. The city would assist renters and owners with programs such as rehabilitation, correction of building code violations, and down payment assistance. Revitalize residential neighborhoods. Improve the physical condition, health, and safety of neighborhoods with activities such as improvements to infrastructure and public facilities, for example, such as parks and playgrounds. The city will also conduct code enforcement activities, building condemnations and demolitions. Increase economic opportunities. Create and or retain jobs through activities such as technical assistance to businesses, infrastructure improvements to assist economic development, rehabilitation and or new construction assistance, access to working capital, and or removal of blighted buildings or conditions in commercial districts. And finally, provide needed public services. Focus on the elderly, frail elderly, and persons with physical disabilities to improve the condition and energy efficiency of housing, as well as services to assist persons to remain in their homes. The city will also fund other public service activities that maintain and improve neighborhood and housing stability, such as services related to youth, public safety, crime prevention, and fair housing. Now that's a very long list over those four, and it doesn't mean necessarily that the city will do every one of those activities every year, 1 through 5. It depends how needs change and priorities, but the way the system works with HUD is if there are types of activities that aren't stated in this 5-year plan that the city decides to do later in year 3, and if they're not listed here, then the city would also have to go back and amend the 5-year plan to add that one type of assistance. So that's why this is worded all very broadly to try and encompass all of the possibilities that the city would do in the next 5 years to eliminate extra administrative work down the road. And that's all we have. Director Leach, I don't know if you want us to take questions now or just wait till the end as well. That may be the best thing. And with that, we would turn it back to you for the 2020 annual plan.
Okay. Just making sure that we just make sure that we know if, because we had another request and we wanted to make sure that, because Cleveland Housing Network had mentioned making a match for home funds, making sure that during the comment period that you at least make sure that's known, because that is something that would have to be put into the plan to make sure that we are able to put it into our action plan, so we can do that.
And that's for the CHN McGregor proposal. Is the funds would be used for construction?
Yes.
Yes, we will make sure that that's added as part of it, and that should be will be recorded in the document as a comment that came in during the comment period as well. So we will adjust that in the executive summary, the summary of the strategic plan, and the goal section, so that that's in there. And that's actually a perfect example. There may be a new construction assisted project in year 1, and there may not be something like that in year 2 or 3, and it may come back. There may be another one in year 4 or 5, some other type of project. But that's exactly the way that that document should be used to catch everything that might come up. And Director Leach, we will make sure that that's all adjusted.
Okay. So lastly, not lastly, but on the main agenda items, because I'm gonna add a little something just to give context to some of the things that we have coming up in the next couple of weeks. But I'm gonna go over our budget. And this budget will be presented to City Council for their approval. But for us, we have 20% of our budget that will go towards admin. And admin will be the salaries, and we use fair housing in there. The next section for us in our budget is residential services. We are proposing $100,000 in emergency repair, $50,000 in our paint program, $50,000 in our lead match program, and that's $200,000. We're proposing $120,000 in demolitions. And part of our demolitions is we have an agreement with the land bank that they do our demolitions. However, we still have administrative costs as far as doing title searches or mailings, and we leverage our money for a greater number of demos to be done through the county land bank. We have approximately $2 million of demos that'll be coming very, very soon. I was probably saying the next month that they're gonna start bidding those out. The next line item is public services that PlaySmart talked about, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So we have allocated approximately $100,000 in public services. Karen and I just had a conversation a few minutes ago related to public services, because we have a few continuing services that we have to determine how or if they'll be able to use those funds this year. The next line item is public facilities. Public facilities is where we take money for our street improvement. and our street lights. So that is the next line item, and that's 374,000 for that line item. We have allocated $50,000 in economic development to make sure that that's there, and $50,000 in Parks and Rec. In our allocation, we have about $205,000 in home funds. However, also, and I failed to mention this, with our 2019 action plan amendment, HUD has done something pretty good because we normally have to do CHODO. And CHODO is they want 15% of your allocation to go towards a CHODO, but that's really not enough to do a project. So what HUD has said, with your money in this year, you can do or use your CHODO funds towards what you would normally do for maybe our home renovation, or that would probably go to assist with us if we gave money towards Cleveland Housing Network and McGregor to do their project. That'll come out of those home funds. So that is an overview of our budget that we'll be presenting to City Council for approval to move forward. Is there any comments on our budget? Okay, so I'll give you our next steps and what we plan to do through community development. After the comment period is over, we will finalize the action plan and we will finalize the consolidated plan with our consultants to make sure that then we submit that to City Council. We plan on submitting after the comment period. That will be at the latest July 17th. So that would be our time to submit our consolidated plan, our amendments. Actually, we can submit our amendment maybe a little bit sooner, a couple of days. That would be July 14th, but we might just wait and do it all at once so City Council can have all that documentation. We do plan on this month releasing our request for public services. That will be done this month, and we would hope that we would have those returned sometime in August. We have to sit back and look at how we're going to do that, but our public service awards or announcement will be done this month with applications due in August. The last time we did our public service, about a few years ago, we had a meeting in which we tutored everybody and brought them up to speed on what we were looking for and how to submit them. With this Zoom meeting, we may do that again to make sure that everybody is aware of how to submit for public services. And that would be our next timeline for what we have going on. I'd ask Placemark if you have any more comments or questions based on what I've said then.
No, Director, we don't. We'll be able to work with you and have the documents finalized when your public comment period finishes and be able to have you submit them to HUD at your earliest convenience.
Okay. This will be time for questions, comments. If you have any, we'll open the floor.
Sorry, Mayor, this is Dr. Guy. When did you say you wanted to try to get this before council?
Say that one more time.
When did you want to try to get this before council for their approval?
This will be done after, we can't submit it until after July 17th. So on July 17th, we plan on having that legislation submitted to City Council.
This is Ann Kahn with McGregor, and I just wanted to thank the city and the mayor and the entire team there for partnering with McGregor, possibly partnering with McGregor for the new affordable housing on our campus. So it's, I'm glad that it worked out that HUD decided to allow those funds to be used in another way, and it allows us to do something great here in the community. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Okay. Any more questions, comments going once? Going twice.
All right, I'm gonna take her there.
I mean, you can't come in when I'm on 2.
I'll just see how fast you count it. That's all. I just had a question on the economic development issue portion of that. If you are, going into small business ownership, and if you, what's a good way to kind of go about that? And would that be something involved where I could access funds to help with the business?
So right now, we don't know. The county is going to do we talked about the county doing a request for proposal, like Cleveland Housing Network did a request and they submitted. So they would handle that. So as far as I know right now, it took HUD a long time to give the exact guidance on how you really use the money. We all have a good perspective on the way they want us to use the money. But as far as being finalized and telling you exactly through guidance how to use it, it hasn't been determined. We started preparing through our calls. Rick and Marcy were on our calls weekly with the county. We started planning and assuming that we could use it for rental assistance and how much we could use. So we started drafting proposals and doing everything in hopes that we would do it in the right thing. We believe we're still on the right track, but as far as how all those funds can be used, we don't know yet. But I would just tell you to keep in contact with us. Also keep in contact with the county because they know as well. And then once it's done, then we'll be able to make sure. Only thing we did was make sure the funds are available.
Okay, I appreciate it. And I definitely plan to be more involved, and this is my first meeting, so definitely, be back here for the next one.
Yes.
Thank you.
Rick and Marcy, have you heard or had anything as related to how economic development funds can be or will be used?
No, as Director, as far as we know, you're correct that there have not been, the details haven't been put out yet by HUD.
All right, so we're gonna go in once, going twice. Don't say nothing, Marlon. No more questions. You got a question? You good? All right. We thank everybody for joining the call. We'll be waiting for any comments if there are any. Please make sure you respond through any means, normally through Karen Hood. Her email address is K as in Karen, H as in Hood, O as in Oscar, O as in Orange, D as in David, at eastcleveland.org, or you can respond to myself and we'll make sure that those comments are in. Again, we want to thank everybody for joining and we look forward to hearing and seeing from you soon.
All right, Malron, this meeting is recorded, so if anybody wants it, I can forward it to you.
Perfect.
Okay.
That's great. All right, thank you everybody. Have a good day.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.